Good afternoon, and a very warm welcome to Deering Live, episode 100. We made it, Dave.
We did it. We did it.
I didn't know you were going to do that right off the bat, so thank you.
You put. We made it. You put that number out a couple months ago. We
I
made that
did.
video. Yeah.
I said we're going to do the 100th episode before the end of 2023, and we did it with some great guests, and it was really, really fun. And we're coming up to the end of the year as well. And so it's also Christmas. Merry Christmas to everyone. I didn't have a hat. I gave Dave a really big budget for some celebratory decorations, which he went and did, and then I failed.
A budget of it's in Argentine pesos.
Argentine pesos, yes.
It changed by the time you told me the budget. It already devalued by 50%.
Well, thankfully, Jamie Deering was on hand to find me a Christmas hat. So here we are, all in glory. We've got a busy show today. This is going to be a fun one. It's not going to be, we're not going to do anything formal. It's going to be very relaxed. We did ask everybody to ask questions to our guests today for the 100th episode, and we got a ton of them. We also asked that, kind of notified you guys that we were going to pick 2 or 3 of you to come join us in the studio, and we do have our guests backstage. And we'll bring them on as the show goes on. You keep that hat sitting right there. What does CABJ stand for on your hat?
Boca Juniors, Club Atletico Boca Juniors, I believe.
It's a local Buenos Aires sporting team of some kind.
It's one of the most famous football teams around. Maradona played for the Boca Juniors.
That famous, huh?
Yeah.
Gotcha.
You can tell Isabella is backstage. She's cringing because she's Brazilian and isn't a fan.
Oh, she isn't like, okay. We'll bring that up when she comes in. We'll find out why and all the reasons, because I'm sure there's a story there as well. Very cool. Well, yeah, like I said, we've got a lot to cover. A lot of you regulars in here. Great to see you. Great to see everyone who's going to be watching on the repeat. But let's bring in our guest for the day. There's really no one else better suited. Mr. Jens Kruger, let's bring him in.
Hello, everybody.
And you're not wearing your hat.
No. I could have. I'm sorry. Yes.
Yeah, come on, man. Let's do this.
Yes.
We're gonna do this. There we go. All right, with the Santa hat. Let's just kickstart this thing. If you want, can you play us a little something to kind of get everyone in the spirit, as it were?
Yeah. I don't know. That's enough, otherwise we don't get to the program. You know me, if I start playing, I'm not gonna stop.
Well, I think that applies to answers as well, so that's totally fine.
Yeah,
we're here for you, sir.
Oh, come on. I'm so honored that you asked me to be here. I think I was at one of the first ones, right, that we did of the hundreds, and then I did a few sort of master classes. Remember, that's a few years ago.
Those are well worth checking out. We covered a different topic each time, and they were a Jens Kruger masterclass. They're still on our website, I think.
Yeah, they're a lot of fun.
COVID did a lot of good. For all the terribleness that came with it, it created some wonderful things like this, and you guys had your stream as well. It's been a really cool time doing all 100 episodes, and we'll continue it into the new year. But thank you, first of all, for being a part of it. And helping us getting it kickstarted and everything.
Always. What I always think so fantastic, about these live streams, and these interactions that you organized or other people did, that people get to know each other through the chat, right? So we have we have people who became friends, because they just started to get to know each other through our live streams, and we realized, that we were not the main attraction, we were just, sort of providing a pub, where people could meet.
Yeah.
and that was very beautiful for us to see. You know.
Actually, before you came in this afternoon, our guests backstage were commenting on they interacted with each other on your live streams
Yeah,
during that time as well, which is really cool. So
yeah, it's really cool. Yeah,
yeah,
very nice.
very, very cool. Before we jump into the questions, real quick, I do want to let everyone know that you do have a new album out. You and the band do, and I just want to give you a couple of seconds to kind of talk about that, let people know where they can find it and a bit about that, and then we'll start getting into some questions.
Aha, okay, yeah. Well, that's it's a new recording. It's called Moonshine Sonata. Of course, you know there's Beethoven's Moonlight Sonata, and I always thought the moonshine is the illegal whiskey that gets made around these parts of the country, and Wilkes County is famous for their moonshine history. NASCAR, for instance, started here because of the moonshine drivers would race each other to find out who was the fastest and so on. So there's a lot of history. So I was asked, in the beginning of the pandemic, why don't you write something for Wilkes County by the Isom family? Actually Dale Isom, who gave me the commission now. He just became mayor of Wilkesboro. So very cool. So then I thought, well, Moonshine Sonata, and I called it an inspirited homage to Wilkes County. And so I written it for string quartet and the Kruger brothers. So there's no singing on it, but it's plenty of music, new music. And so this is the CD.
Very good.
This is the
Great.
CD, and and like we're gonna have a vinyl coming out in January. We wanted mentioned before. We wanted to have it out before Christmas, but at that time, just the pressing companies, they're so overwhelmed, with vinyl that they just couldn't do it before Christmas. But we're gonna have a vinyl of that as well.
At least we know it's coming.
Yeah, that's very nice. So I'm very happy, that is out, because it's always a lot of work, and then we went on tour with it in Germany and Switzerland, and that went well. So it's all very cool. Yeah.
Perfect. Are you taking some time off for the holidays?
Well, we have one more show. Yes, and then I'm going to take some time off. We have on the 23rd we're playing in Knoxville in the theater, and we had a few Christmas shows lined up. And Cindy Bauckham was supposed to sing with us, and of course with Terry. He turned really bad, a few weeks ago, and she said, "No, I can't do it." And so we got Laura Businger, and her, she's great, Oklahoma player, great, singer, and so she's doing it with us. But we had to relearn the entire program. But we're having a lot of fun on stage, and we have one more show, and it's a Christmas show on the 23rd. And then we're off until the beginning, first week, I think the 12th of January, and then we start full throttle again,
Off we go. And you're going to come out and see us in California in January.
Yes, I'm going to be at the NAMM show. Actually, I'm going to play with the Chapmans, for the breakfast session. So
I know.
They
working
asked me
hard
if
putting that together.
Yeah, that's going to be fun.
It's going to be great. Yeah, it's going to be really fun.
That's going to be fun. Playing some bluegrass, yeah.
Play some bluegrass at 7 o'clock in the morning, no less. So let's go. All right, young David, how you doing?
Good. We got a lot of questions, Jens, and then we got some of live questions from some viewers too that are here backstage.
Okay,
so
let's bring it on.
Let's just jump in. We're going to do a few of the written ones, and then we're going to bring our guest in. So we have one from V Young. Says, do you always smile because you play the banjo, or play the banjo because you always smile? What makes the banjo so special to you?
I think being quite happy and positive is part of my nature. I think, that's mostly. I am, and the banjo, when I was a kid and I heard the banjo, I loved that sound because it was so clean, and it could produce a sound almost like a waterfall, right? It could produce a sound that was just different than any other instrument, that I knew, and you could hear it out of everything. It could be a whole music going on, but if there's the sound of the banjo, you know, that there's just the you know, it's just the sound, and so that really captured my ear. And when I was 7 years old, you know, I decided I want to play the banjo, and then soon after that, you know, when I had one, I really decided that's all I want to do in life, you know, play the banjo. Of course, you know, I do a lot more, but that's what I wanted to do. Makes me happy because I feel like I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. You know, everybody has to find sort of its purpose, and for me, playing music is what I always wanted.
That's awesome that you've been able to keep that joy in it, and people really connect with it, obviously, because you know they're writing about this and they can really feel and see your joy when you're playing music.
Yeah, well, I think, you know, music is something that it's an interesting job. You know, sometimes I can get caught up like everybody else. You know, I'm getting caught up, you know, with technical ideas and trying to be better all the time, or sometimes being, you know, feeling like, oh, I should have done that, or you know, regretting things, or you know. But then I come back and I play a concert, or I see people come up and they really are happy, you know, about maybe the concert. They come up and tell me, and that. I can see that I could really, you know, make a difference, you know, and that's a beautiful job, actually, if I can do that. You know, it's a good occupation. It really is. I mean, I always get nervous, you know, still get, you know, when I get on stage, you know, I'm not cool about it, because it's always a great, how do you say, it's a responsibility, you know.
Yeah.
Well, because you're on stage and there's a lot of people that, you know, paid money and they sit there, and you know, so you're there for the people, you know, not for yourself. You know, you don't need them to clap for your practicing hours. Now you got to deliver something they can enjoy, you know.
Right.
And so I'm always trying to find something that is followable, you know, not irritating, not too complicated. It's easy to play complicated, but it's very hard to play something that you know that people can follow you and still be complex. You know, I
Right,
think
right. Finding that balance of complexity and something that's relatable is very difficult.
exactly. So that's been my life journey with music.
Yeah, that's great. Let's see. We have next one. We have from Amon Malandi, saying, and it's kind of in the same vein. Have you always been so relaxed and joyful when you perform? I can only be relaxed when I play alone. As soon as I'm asked to play my solo in front of others, I get nervous, feel my fingers freeze, and I deliver much worse performances than I'm able of. Is there hope for me?
Oh yes, definitely. There's hope for you. That's where, you know. Actually, it helps me a lot. I did a few solo shows in Australia, and when I'm alone on stage, it feels weird. Like even sitting here, because I don't hardly ever actually, you know, perform my music alone. You know, I sometimes do, but most of the time, you know, or all my life almost, I've been, you know, playing, you know, alongside my brother and Joel, and when he starts playing the guitar, I can concentrate on my brother, and I can concentrate on something else than me, and that helps me to relax about my own playing. You know, like Uwe once said, you know, that when we play together, the music happens here, not here, right? Not it's what we do together that creates the music, and then, you know, so when you start focusing not too much on yourself, you know, and thoughts are the biggest problem, you know, thoughts. So to release yourself of overthinking, because when you're on stage and you get nervous, you tend that your mind starts racing. You know,
Right.
you tend that you start thinking very, very fast, and that really interferes with anything that is you know, automized, or any flow or any connection
Right.
that you might have, and any soulful things. So when we do sound check, we always play extremely. We start off usually always with. Something very simple, something that is beautiful, where we can make music happen, and then I can get my attention away from myself and start
Right.
to relax, and then I'm fine. That's really helpful. So for you, definitely there's hope. Just remember that if you get nervous, that's a very, very good thing, because if you wouldn't, there would be something wrong with you. I mean, that's, you would be cold-hearted almost. I think you have to learn to relax by maybe breathing, concentrate on your breath. I do that a lot before I go out on stage. I sort of concentrate, just to be with me now, and that sort of helps suppress, the thoughts. And there's when I was younger, there was a lot of people, that would tell me, tricks, of how they, they would come, and they would maybe sometimes say, you just got to go on stage, and you have to know that they're not any better than you, and things like that. And I think that's not good. I think that's not good at all, because I really like people, and I like playing for people, so I really respect them highly. And because I do, and see the responsibility, of course I get nervous. If I wouldn't see the responsibility, I wouldn't probably get nervous, and then my music also wouldn't be connective, or sensitive, or true, because it would be hard, and
Right.
that's not what I want to do with
Right.
people.
And is there, while you're playing, if you kind of find yourself going, losing focus of the sound and the connection, and more just and getting in your head, is there a way to get out of that without losing track of where you are in the music too? Because you can't just stop and have a space to yourself.
I think a lot of had to do with singing along with what you do inside. So if you play and you just look at the motion of the fingers, like you're remembering, and you just remember that these notes go where the fingers go, I think that's not good enough, because you're always going to be late, because you're always watching, and you're watching a process that should happen because there's a need for it. So if you have a need for it, that means if you have da 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 you see, in this moment, it's almost impossible for me to think, because I'm singing, right? And so because I'm singing along, there's a purpose for it. If I just watch my finger motion, that happens a lot when people go on stage and start playing. They remember, oh, what do I need to do? I need to slide to the 5th fret. But that's physical. Music starts in the non-physical imagination of how it's going to sound, right? So if you start da ba da then you're not watching your positions and trying to change at the right time. Your body will do that automatically once you before you want to create music. So you have to feel the music, the notes that you want to be playing. So when I play, right, but if I just watch the movement, I'm in another space. You see, I'm like too late. I'm watching this instead of creating it, before. And that's like a millisecond. It's like micro. It's like when you talk, when you hear, you remember when you have an echo on your phone, and you hear your own voice, then you don't know where to talk anymore, and it feels very awkward, and you lose track of what did you want to say, because you hear yourself talk. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, totally.
So and that's the same with music. If you start listening to what you do, it's gonna be much more difficult, to get into the space of you just feel it, what you want to say. So if I have da 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 da, I could fool myself by just singing what I'm playing, but I can have da 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 da, and at that moment I already relax, because I'm not thinking. You see,
Right.
and
You're hearing.
because I'm hearing, I'm listening to the music that I want to play, and because I do that, I find my way to myself. But if I start just this is this chord, then I feel like I'm looking at positions, and this is like when you walk, and you watch your own steps, you start to stumble, right?
Right.
Because it's not purpose driven. You start to micro control things that happen automatically, right?
Right.
So on stage, I always know when I start to lose it, when I concentrate too much on what I do, on what I see. That's why on stage I don't wear glasses. I don't see well. I really don't see that well. It didn't used to be that way, but on stage, I don't really want to see too well what I do because it irritates me. I always say that in my workshops, like you would have a screen with your vocal cords, right? And then you have to talk to somebody and you watch your vocal cords do the thing. This is not what I want to know. The only thing that counts is the result of what I wanted to say, and not how it looks or it appears or how it comes forward, right? That brings me always back to that space where I'm actually in the music, and that's where I feel like I can channel myself, through the instrument, and not the instrument is taken over. And when I'm afraid, my instrument starts taking over. Patterns start taking over. Things that I practice start taking over, but not my inner music. But as soon as my inner music starts taking over, then comes the problem of the mistake, right? If I do a little mistake, then or I miss a note, then if I start to overanalyze that again, there's too many thoughts, right? So I just have to keep on thinking. Keep on thinking the music, that I want to play, note by note, really sort of, or get the idea like sort of. Then I don't, and then music starts flowing, and there's a certain magic to it. And that's why I like to play my instrument as well, because my instrument, I know it so well that I start to forget it.
Yeah.
If I have another sounding instrument and a different instrument, I have to think of the instrument, and that really, keeps me from being with myself, in my own imagination. Okay, that was a long explanation, but
that's fantastic, though. There's a lot there for everybody of all levels to grab from. So that's really good.
All right, I hope
I'd like to bring in. We have a special guest, a regular viewer, Isabella, that's in the background. So I'd like to bring her in, and she has a question for you. First, I'd have a little talk with introduce Isabella.
Hello, Isabella. Hello.
So you're in Brazil right now, right?
Yes, I'm from Brazil. I'm in São Paulo. Oi, pessoal do Brasil. I'm saying hello to the people in Brazil. I'm from São Paulo. I always like the banjo. The sound really kept me. And I start my journey. I always I'm a big fan of Steve Martin. And I saw him playing and do things I really, really like. And through him, I knew Jens and the Kruger brothers, and I love it. And I started to thinking, maybe I could play. And Jens is always so kind to teach, and this gave me courage to start my journey. And I buy a banjo and start to play.
Okay, good. Very good.
That's fantastic.
My question. I'm from Brazil, and here we don't have a banjo like a traditional instrument. This makes me see the instruments like with a different perspective. And in your journey, Jens, is also has this context with another country and this kind of thing. So can you talk about your experience about that and music background, and give me some advice how to this context of another country can make me play banjo better?
Okay. Well, there's there's a different, there's different journeys, on the banjo. In America, or even in Europe, I don't know how it is in Brazil, but in Europe, a lot of people would start off, with learning a few traditional tunes, learning Little Darling Pal of Mine, Cripple Creek, Cumberland Gap, Saw Creek, all this, like pretty much, and then try to maybe, upgrade, to the Foggy Mountain Banjo album of Earl Scruggs and things. And that has a special reason, because if you learn these, you can play along with the album, right? Or, slow it down, or, play, or, and that gives you a great insight of how the banjo functions in a situation, right? So you get to jam with the best, because you learn a few things that they do, and then you have albums, and then you can play, the technique. You can learn where the timing is, and the tone, and and what they do, and how they approach it, and that's very, very, very good. I think sometimes people say, "Well, I don't have many people I can jam with." And I think that's sad, but there's, like in another country, I didn't have that either. Of course, I had my brother, but he was learning as well, and we were not playing. But I could play with the Osborne Brothers and Flatt and Scruggs and everybody, and we had a few albums, and I tried to play along with these albums, put the headphones on, and just turn it so I was in sync with it, and then just sort of play along. And that really helped me, because I was because if you're in a let's say you just learn a few pieces well, I would suggest, I see today the world is a little bit like infoholics, right? We're all a little bit infoholics, and the problem there's too much information and not enough doing. This is like you would start to walk and you're already taking dance classes, and you're taking modern jazz, you're taking jazz dance and ballet, and you're taking salsa, you're taking all kinds of classes, but you cannot even walk yet, So I think sometimes there's so much information that, keeps you from just playing, and also let your intuition and your own ability take over, and really do it. You can trust the process, that the things you like, you can do. Right, you will be able to do them. And when I was a kid, I was panicked that I maybe would not be able to play the things that I loved so much, But I learned that all the things that I really liked, I was able to learn, because I liked them, and they stuck with me. They sort of I was just in the Einstein Museum, and there's a big exhibition, and it was just great. There was a quote about him. I just talked to Uwe about it as well, It was just so good, They asked him once, how can you remember all these things? And he said, well, I remember all the things I love, and all the things I don't love, I don't remember that well. So, but he says, I just happen to love a lot of things, right? So, and so this is the same with music, So when you're in another country, you can jam, with the albums, have the Nitty Gritty Dirt Band, and play something. It's like, or in a. And it doesn't need to be fast, just something beautiful, and then really that feels good. So that's one. The other is that you grew up in a environment that has also its own culture, melodies, and rhythms, and all these things, and it is nice if you start, melodies that that you like, that you are connected to. It doesn't need to be. I mean, it can be Villa Lobos. It doesn't. It could be anything. That you are familiar with, and some fragments. You don't have to play the entire thing. Just little melodies and things. Try to find them on the banjo. Just try to find them, and even go. And if you have a friend that plays guitar or knows some tunes, and try to adopt a few of these things onto your banjo. I did that with Swiss folk music as well, or Northern German folk music, or things that and there were always sounds that were not that prominent in bluegrass, that are very prominent in European music, right? It's like, for instance, just the end cadenza of, when we go, in Germany, we go, for us, the third is an end cadenza, right? But in America, not. It's always right. So, but in Germany, you know, we have a lot of third endings, which was a little, you know, and Uwe still does it on his guitar. You know, he plays a lot of times in the end of a run. He doesn't play the root; he plays the third, which I sometimes, you know, say, don't do that, you know, but because he's got this third in the bass, you know, but it's so German, you know. We grew up with all these melodies, and I think that makes us a little bit different, you know, than other people, and that's fine. You know, you don't need to be like everybody else, not at all. You know, that doesn't need to be at all, Isabella. You know, so you just do. But I think to learn the technique, it is good to learn traditional tunes, you know, because then you can play along with albums, you know, and you learn how other people have been doing it. You know, basically when you look at if a note is on the B string, for instance, well, you have a slide going in, right? Or you have a note on the first string, you have a hammer on, or, you know, it's what you do with the melody note that sort of makes these slides and all these things go on, right? And then you just fill the rest with notes. You know, everybody does it a little different, and of course there's traditional established ways, but that's why it's good just to learn like one language, and if you understand one language, you can maybe learn another one easier. And that's the same with banjo, you know. So if you don't absolutely, let's say, if you would say, oh, I absolutely don't like bluegrass, well, then you don't have to do it. But there's always people who sing songs that you will like, and banjo will fit to it. So you could. And it's good if there's a banjo there, because then you can get an idea of somebody who's really good at what he does, right? And then you just play along. I mean, that's what I would suggest. And then never forget all the melodies you have in your head you love, right? And then try to figure them out on your instrument.
I think that's really important advice all around. Isabella, what do you think? Does that kind of help answer your question a little bit?
Yeah, I believe in these two. To me, today is a big challenge. I never speak English with no one before. It's the first time it's live, and I think it's kind of play banjo. It's a challenge. You throw yourself in and let flow, and I think the difference, maybe something wrong I'm saying, it's not wrong, it's my way. I'm from Brazil, I speak Portuguese, so it's part of me.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, like I show you an example. It's like this is not a children's melody. It's actually a song from northern Germany. See, this is the third. So that's the melody. But then I started to. And so I started to use it in compositions of mine. So it's just the melody, you know, that I grew up with, that I could, you know, sort of dwell on. I strongly believe if you play something where you have a heart connection to, you will also connect with somebody in the world on that level. I truly believe that. Maybe you don't know these people yet, but after a while they find you, you find them, and that's your audience, right? You don't need to cater an audience that is not you. You know, that would make you very unhappy. You know, I used to play as a sideman in lots of bands where I played music I didn't really like. And I got connected with a lot of people I didn't really like. I mean, not that I didn't like them, but it was not who I would choose to be around with, you know? So after I started playing the music that I really love. I started also have audience that became also friends then. So it's a beautiful sort of expanding energy.
That's awesome. Guys, thank you so much. Isabella, thank you so much for your question. That was really good, and I hope the answer is helps you on your journey. I think
super.
I would love to hear some Brazilian infused bluegrass stylings a year from now. We'll have you back in.
Right. Very good, Isabella. Thank you.
All right. Jens, thank you. I think the cool part about doing this kind of thing with you is that there's always, like, even if people can't absorb all of it, there's always little nuggets that they can take away and help apply to their own playing, sometimes even on other instruments. I often find myself taking away bits and pieces that I can apply to other things. So let's keep it going. We have a question from Paul Fairbanks, who asks, hi Jens, what do you think are the 3 most important things a banjo teacher should convey to their students?
I think that that the teacher makes sure that the students understand that there's a journey that he has to do alone. Okay, and because nobody can really help him to discover what he likes, right? That is not possible. He has to figure that out himself. But that the teacher needs to be quite stern in his way of how he actually teaches technique. And I think that even if you don't, let's say, you don't have to, if somebody would come and wants to learn banjo with me, I would tell him, well, it's good if you like me, but it's also okay if you don't that much. I can still teach you a lot, of what to do with music and how to look at the hand positions and how to change chords and what's important and learn things, really learn things, about music. So that's the one part, and I think that's where a teacher is really, really important. That's really a music teacher. Now, if the music teacher also has the ability to be a mentor, right, which is a different thing. It's a different field. I've seen teachers that are more mentors than teachers, and they can give people a lot of good wisdom, but they never teach them anything really, well. So they end up knowing a lot, but they are not very satisfied because they cannot play that well. So it's like not things that are needed to be completely separate, but I think as a teacher, there's a big responsibility. Somebody wants to learn the banjo and wants to first learn, the technique. And so that's what I need to focus on. I need to, as a banjo teacher, I need to make sure that he knows, how to wear the picks, how to read a good tone, how to improve timing, how to work with the metronome, how to, all the things that are really physical and need to be physically learned, and then how to play loud and, make them play loud and make them play fast and make them, build the strength that you need for your hands. It's not something that just comes that easily, naturally. You have to, put work in it, and you need somebody who really helps you, to say, this is the right thing, do that, right? Just do that. Not, because if you're autodidact, you sit at home and then you go like, oh, I practiced this for a half hour. I don't even know if I really need this or if I'm doing the right thing. So as a teacher, it is very important that you say, okay, yeah, this is the right thing. Learn that, do that. That will help you. And then the student can really say, okay, I can do this, and really work on that at home. And that's to give clear assignments of what needs to be learned, I think, is an obligation of a good teacher. I think that he needs to really help you do that, and not too much, just in little bite sizes, right? So not overwhelming tablatures that he has to learn at first. Little things, like I see a lot of people who play for quite a while and they never really established a good pull-off, and and so that needs to be worked on, and that's what a teacher can help you with. You can say, well, yeah, I can't hear the second string, or or it's just something, try pushing up, try to do it your way, and he can coach you and help you. And then the other thing is that he can then help you to discover your own music. But that's a different field, really, you know. But most people really need a teacher just to really help them to do technical things, you know.
It's good advice. It's good advice. All right. Our second guest that we brought in now, she is not live with us, but she did make us a little video to play. And she's dealing with a bit of a cold right now, so we'll give her the video instead of the live appearance. But that would be Julie, a longtime viewer, regular viewer from the UK, so another international guest, but sounds a little bit more like me. So, Jonathan, if you don't mind, if you can play Julie.
Hello, Jens, it's Julie here. Thank you very much for allowing me to ask you my question. What I wanted to know was what so far in your career has given you the greatest satisfaction? Thank you very much.
Oh, wow. Thank you, Julia. This is great. I think I met this woman once. I met this lady once. She just seemed familiar right now. We played in the UK, maybe.
She may have been at Huddersfield, the Eagle.
She was at Huddersfield. Exactly.
Yeah.
That's where she was. Exactly. And I talked to her. Right. Yeah. Now, of course, yes. I remember. Now, I'm sorry that that didn't click right away. Okay. Yeah. Yes. So I think my first big boost was when I was invited to play the Grand Ole Opry with Bill Monroe. You know, I was a street musician. I didn't have anything. I was doubting, you know, I was playing like crazy. I was 19 years old, and I went to see Bill Monroe play in Indiana, Beam Blossom, and then he somehow got wind that I played banjo. You know, somebody told him, you know, I don't know. And then he saw me and he invited me to play with him on stage, and I was really quite surprised, you know, that he would ask me to play with him on stage. I didn't even know that he would recognize that I would play banjo or anything. I just went to thank him, and then I played. And then he said, well, if you're around, play more, right? So I did. And then I went played, you know, more places with him. And then he asked me, I lived on his farm for a few months. And he asked me one evening, hey, you play with us, we play in the Grand Ole Opry tonight, right? So, and that was really something, you know, because I had to put on a suit and never wore a suit in my life, you know, and he had a whole place full of, you know, old suits from Bluegrass Boys, and I found one and put that on, and that was just an amazing validation, you know, because after that, you know, Chet Atkins came, talked to me, and Dolly Parton gave me a big hug, and everybody was really nice and supportive, and that really changed my life, you know, sitting with Bill Monroe also in the kitchen playing music or talking about music, and that somebody like Bill Monroe would take me serious, you know, and look at me, and you know, being a street, really, we just played on the streets and, you know, played a few concerts, but that wasn't, you know, there wasn't that much validation there, you know. But with Bill Monroe in the Grand Ole Opry in Nashville, that was definitely one of these things. Then, of course, being invited to Merlefest, that was a big boost, you know, that people liked my music, the music I've written, not in music. In Switzerland, people never wanted my music. But in America, all of a sudden, it was requested that I play my music because everybody else was already playing their music. So why would I play like Earl Scruggs? Earl Scruggs played right after me, right? Or, you know, play a Bela Fleck tune. You know, Bela Fleck would be playing on the same show. You know, so nobody would hire me to do something that somebody else is already doing. So people started hiring me because I do something nobody else does, and so to see that was a change in life. A big change in life, to realize that here's actually a place where I can be myself, like Oscar Wilde said, be yourself because everybody else is already taken. And then of course, you know, the different, I don't know, seeing so many happy people and on our concerts. But you asked the most. I think a big boost was the Steve Martin Award, you know, that I got in 2013. I think the Blue Ridge Music Hall of Fame, or the Banjo Hall of Fame, you know, 3 years ago in Oklahoma. That was big for me. And well, that's nice to get these kind of, you know, recognitions that helped me. And also I have a lot of friends, you know, who helped me all the way, you know, that believe in what I do or what I write, and give me commissions and help me along the way. So it's hard to pick out a single event, but I think the single biggest event was, the first one was the Grand Ole Opry with Bill Monroe. And he encouraged me always to write my own music from that day on. I didn't like it at first. He said, "You're not from Kentucky, you have other music in you, and Americans need to hear what you got." And so that was quite amazing.
Yeah, having these validations along the way is so important as throughout your musical career, as self-doubt kind of creeps in. Am I doing it right? Am I going down the right path? And
that's definitely. I mean, not that I never had that much doubt about my own music, because this is the only music I got. So, when you first start writing your own music, you always feel like it's probably not good enough, and I had this little thing when I was with Bill Monroe. It was I had only this sort of, and he said. And then he looked at me. He said, "Well, that's you, whether you like it or not." It's like when you look in the mirror, and you wonder, "Oh, where is this all coming from?" Right? And this is the same with the music. The music that you come up with is your music, and in the beginning, you probably don't like it. Just like listening to yourself on the answer machine, of your phone, or seeing yourself in a video. You might are not a big fan of yourself, but after a while, you give up on criticizing yourself too much, and you just keep on going. And that's where you sometimes just need some encouragement from the outside as well. People, friends, that come and say, "Hey, that was nice." That was good.
Yeah. Well, let's get to another question. We have a question from Jay Hall saying, if you consider your playing, would you consider it a gift or hard work? And did you ever record yourself when you first started?
I didn't record myself when I first started, but then I had a little tape recorder, and I tried to overdub with 2 tape recorders, right? I would play on one tape recorder and then play on the other tape recorder and let it run and push, and then always you have, and here comes the music, right? And so I did that when I was in 4th grade in Zurich, when we still lived in Zurich. But then later I wasn't able to record myself for a long time. And at one point, I'd really wanted to just become independent, almost like, I always admire painting and painters, because they can just go into a room and they finished an artwork by themselves. They don't have to call anybody, right? They don't have to ask a musician friend, can you learn these chords? Can you play with me that? So with the studio, of course, that was great. I could do overdubs and do my own things. And then I had a long period of time between 1982, mid 1982 until 97, where I filled literally hundreds and hundreds of tapes, with my own playing, because I would play and record and see if it sounds, how it sounds, So I would record myself all the time, to see if what I thought I was playing actually sounded the way I thought it would sound. That was very important, So yes, I did record myself. I still do today. I'm sitting here in the studio, and just today I probably, had a few hours, just recording myself, just seeing, how it sounds, when I do certain things. So, and then the other question, if I feel like it's a gift or hard work, I think it's both, but I think the gift is my, I think I really do feel like I have a gift in a way of hearing melodies, right? And it's a gift. That's how it is. It's not something. Beethoven just, it was just Beethoven's birthday, so there was this beautiful. He has beautiful quotes. It's about these. You can imagine that somebody's singing to you, right? And then for some people they don't hear anything, and other people they hear a lot, and a lot of people hear a lot more. But if you're still and you love music, you start hearing things. It's like somebody's whispering these or singing these melodies into your ear. It could be your right ear or your left ear, and it's maybe sounds schizophrenic, but it's the muse, you know, it's what they always called it. And that's really a gift, you know, and the gift is not something that you sort of had just initially given to you and that's it, and then you're alone. Actually, the gift is continuously speaking to you, you know. It's like you have almost like a spirit singing to you, you know, the things you need to do. You know, it's like da 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 and so forth, right? So there's like da, 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 da. So I can hear this, and the more faithful I follow the melodies, you know, it's a simple melody. It's not more than that. So it starts off with just da 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 da. And then I start to orchestrate it behind it, you know, with chords and such. But it's da 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 da. I just listen to that and I play it. And if I already alter it, like I feel like, right, then I already destroyed it. I have to take it as face value, right? And this is the melody I hear. This is the melody I'm going to play. And if I really just play that melody, just that, it will develop into more, right? There's more given. There's more singing. There's more. All of a sudden, it's like this idea this morning. Yeah, it's just you know, a common thing, very common idea. But if I follow it, it's like the da, 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 yeah. So. So if I really just follow what I hear, I start to, it develops into more and more and more and more and more. And if I in the beginning don't trust it and don't do what I hear, I mess it all up and I don't get anywhere. So then I'm sitting here, you know, it happened to me 1,000 times where I was like, almost like pride gets in the way, or, you know, or in, let's say almost like impatience, you know. I want more, you know, I want more. So, you know, you could go about, you know, learning all kinds of scales and things, but they're not the ones that you hear, right? You know, you could learn all kinds of things, and then you can combine all kinds of things, but it's never the things you hear. So you could become very frustrated after years because you play all these things, but you never have a connection to yourself. So the actual connection starts happening because you play what you hear, and not more. And then you play it more, and then it starts to develop, and it becomes more. It always becomes more. You know, it always develops. It always develops in something much greater. You know, and I learned that from letters from Mozart to his sister. You know, from letters from Beethoven. You know, from things. You know, if you look at, you know, that's not much, right? That's just a chord. Right, there's nothing there, but that developed into a whole thing, right? So you trust you trust the process, that the simplicity is what's given to you, and that out of that simplicity, greater things develop, right? So when I have, let's say, if I have a book like this here, you know, the Moonshine Sonata, the new one, right, with all these notes in here. All this stuff, right? Or I'll show you. Let's see here.
You actually won't believe what Jens has to hand.
You know,
on the right-hand side.
so you know, these are orchestra scores, or this is Appalachian Concerto, you know, or Lucid Dreamer, all these. Then I have, you know, Roan Mountain, or string, you know, all these pieces, you know, I've written. They all start exactly like that. They all have more, but they all start with the most simplistic idea, and then develop into more. And then if it's too much, I'm done. Right? It would become more and more and more and more, because you start hearing all these things that are layered on top, underneath it, and so that's what I consider. That's, if you will, that's a gift, or a curse. You know, I mean, you can look at it either way. You know, because it's so much easier just to, you know, just really enjoy playing that. And but if you constantly hear other things, you got to follow that somehow, you know. A lot of times I see banjo players, you know, play traditional music, and then they feel like, oh, I need to complicate it. You know, I need to do more with it. So they learn more scales, and what else can you do with it? But I think that's a lot of times it's a waste of life's energy, you know, for me. I sometimes believe we have a purpose of what we need to be playing, because not everybody needs to be doing, you know, just endless opportunities doesn't make you, it's like you would have the greatest grocery store in the world, but it doesn't make you a better chef, right? You have access to every food possible, but you don't know how to cook your own, you know, your own little food that you like, you know. And that's the same with possibilities. So if you just expand your possibilities, it doesn't mean you develop your taste, right? So or your inner connection to what you need to be doing. So I don't feel like I need to be able to do what other people do. I need to be able to do what I need to do, and then I use my time to a certain extent correctly, you know, for me, because time goes by so fast, and I could waste it on a lot of things I don't even need, you know. I know that was a lot, but I think that's a gift. I think to realize at one point that you gotta listen, you know, that it's not coming out of your mind, out of your intellect. It's coming from just you listen, and there's a melody, you know, in quietness.
It's perfect. I mean, the analogies are always really, really helpful. So awesome response. Right, I want to get a little bit onto the gear side just briefly.
Sure.
We had a number of questions about finger picks. So I'm going to ask kind of the one that stood out a little bit from Garland Allen. What banjo picks do you use? What banjo picks do you recommend? And I'm going to add on, because we've kind of covered this in the past before, but let's refresh it. Any tips to the most effective technique to wear them and use them?
Okay, so what I've been playing now for since they came out pretty much is the Pro picks, you know, and
Correct answer. Well done.
The Pro picks. That's what I'm using. They are actually copies of the old Nationals, pretty much. You know, Nationals, the new Nationals are a much harder material, and they don't ever play really in. I mean, they sound good. I mean, not that they're not sounding good, but I'm just so used to that old National tone, you know, that I got out of and I still have a whole bunch of old Nationals, right? But then we always looked, you know, that why isn't there a new alternative that sounds really good? For a while there was a pick called the Kaiser pick, and that was also very close in sound, you know. Once they were played in, they sounded very much like the old ones, and they were very comfortable to wear. But now this is there's a few other makers out there, you know, who make copies, but this is a very faithful copy, really very much. So this is a very super pick. So what I do is I could show you. I have
those ones that they're based on Earl's. Set,
well, yeah,
right?
Todd Taylor gave me a set of finger picks that Earl Scruggs actually recorded Pike County Breakdown with, and Todd Taylor gave me them in a matchbox. You know, he got them right after the recording session, and then at one point he, you know, found them when he moved to Wilkesboro, and he gave me that little matchbox that said on it Earl Scruggs, you know, and when was it, 1951 or something, you know, Pike County Breakdown.
59.
So and here, you know, let's just hear these are Nationals. and they're not really played in, but these are National Snow from them. And these are the Pro picks. So you can hear that there's no difference really. I mean, they just sound great. So that's what I use because they're just available. The thing is, when you get them new, you have to play them in a while, or you have you can also get them already played in. Sometimes from Deering does a special, where they sell, played in ones. And what then Deering is doing, they just put them onto a polishing machine and get the edges off. The edges of the finger pick here. These edges the sharp edges are the ones that make these funny noises when you have new picks, and if they're a little rounded, then they sound great. So all you need is putting them on a polishing pad, and just sort of get these burrs, get them just a little bit more rounded, and then they sound great. Well, anyway, so the other thing is when you look at my finger, my hand, see how they're tilted actually. I know you can see that. So you can see that they're tilted to the side, a little bit. And I'm sorry, I have to just knock this. So they're tilted to the side, and that's because when if I would play exactly like that, well, then they wouldn't need to be tilted. But because I'm playing like that, they need to be a little bit, tilted. So the finger picks actually strike flat. Then
making the most contact with the string on the bigger surface area.
Yes, and that's important because if I have the edge, on the edge, then I start to have a scratch, on the fourth string. See that? But if I'm sort of a little bit more flat. So that works, with that. That's why they're a little bit tilted, not too much. Then I have an angle, which is working for my hand. You can see if the finger pick is really straight, let's say it would be straight out, then the finger pick would strike the string this way, and then the first movement towards the bridge would be a sideways movement, not an up and down movement. So the first initial let go would be more of a sideways motion than an up and down motion. But the up and down motion is what gives you bass. So you can hear that very clearly. If I go like this and, sort of make my finger curl so my finger pick would go straight, you can hear the tone, right? You can hear it. So that would be a sideways movement always. And now if I, let's say, do the extreme, you see that there's much more pop to the tone than this. You see that? That's why, so I have something in between. Once I played the picks for quite some time, they start to curl a little bit more on the top here, and then I take a plier and just straighten them out on the very top a little bit, just so they're straight. You see, when you look at them, they're almost straight on the very top. You can't hardly see it like that. You can see that just on the last, quarter of an inch. They're all curved, but the last quarter of an inch is quite straight, and that gives me a good grab. I can really feel the string. If a pick gets old, it gets a little round, it starts to sort of disappear into the string, because I don't have a real edge, to pick it off on. So when I have worn a pick for quite some time, I'll just take a plier and just make it really straight again. Just the last quarter inch, not even, Just make sure that's right. Then for a thumb pick, I use a blue chip, but Pro Pick has a model. It just doesn't seem to fit that well for my thumb. So, but otherwise, it sounds great. The Pro Pick thumb pick is also a hybrid pick that is metal. Yeah, exactly. So it's a hybrid pick. So it's a hybrid pick that is metal and a plastic, which I think is great because I used to play the plastic thumb picks, and the problem was that they would always break. They would always break here, right here.
Right.
They break, and so sometimes in the middle of the concert. So you had always banjos, with lots of thumb picks here because they would also warm up in a hot situation, and you have to take a cold one because otherwise they wouldn't fit anymore and they fall off your fingers because they get warm. So with the metal ones, they don't do that. So that feels very comfortable. I have a little awkward way of playing the thumb. When you look at my thumb pick, it actually points downward quite some.
Can you bring that a little closer to the
Yeah.
to the camera? Oh yeah,
You see, it points somewhat down. you
gotcha.
see.
Yep.
So a lot of players, play really with the thumb pick like that, right? And mine points downward a little bit. It's just for my hand, it's more comfortable for me. So that works. That's finger picks.
So there's a comment. It says, "Dear Lord, he's like the Yoda of banjos." Just made me laugh. Yeah. Well,
Try not to do.
there is no try, right?
Yeah, it is. Well,
We do. That's very useful. And just on this is called the supertone, just to kind of
yes,
bring
that's
that back up again real quick. So what we have noticed is a lot of the players who are buying them and using them are a lot of the time using, like you say, the plastic picks, like the Golden Gates, for example. Kank Smith, I think he would buy like a tub of Golden Gates
yes.
and go through them over the course of a year. And I think he's had a supertone pick that's lasted him the same as a single tub of those kinds of
Yeah,
plastic
I know,
picks, right?
I know. It's
So
crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah.
I really like these hybrid picks. They really
Yeah.
work well, and they really work well. So that's good. But the finger picks are crucial for me, and I stay with a pair of finger picks until they're not usable anymore, and then I start changing. Not before. Because I really get used to them. I don't want to think about them. I make sure that they fit well, and then I just don't think about them anymore. There's also options, for the finger picks that are stainless steel,
Yep.
but sometimes they're just so hard. And, you get them to fit, but then the problem is you get in a more cold environment, and then they just fall off your hands, off
It's
your
a
fingers.
lot harder to adjust on the go, right?
Yeah, because they don't have any spring. These are sort of have a little give. They're and if they're really hard, then they're sometimes either too tight or too loose, and sometimes they're fine. So but with these, there's just much more room. Just much more wiggle room. Yeah.
Very good, very good. Well, listen, we're past the hour mark, but we're still going strong. So for the time being, buckle up. We're going to do a few more questions. I don't know that we're going to get to all of them. So the ones that we don't get to,
I try to answer quicker. I'm sorry. I'm a
no,
little...
no, you're fine. We will try and write back personally if we can. But now let's bring in our last guest. He's a regular viewer all the way from New York. And let's bring him in. It's Joseph Brusk, everybody. Hey, Joseph.
Hello.
Hello,
How are ya?
Joseph. Hello.
And I'm in northern New York, Pacific, where it snows a lot, and it's much closer to Canada than it is to New York City.
Yes, right.
So how have you been?
How have I been?
You showed us the snow earlier. Is it freezing up there?
It's chilly. We've only got about 2 inches. We're going to end up with a green Christmas this year. About once every 10 years, we get Christmas. I should show you a picture from last Christmas when I have icicles coming off my beard. But I need to get, and you've kind of answered it earlier, Jens, but I'm a newbie. I'm like a lot of people who, when the pandemic came, I was retired. I've always loved the banjo, enchanted the sound of the thing. Bought my first banjo when I was 22, but it moved into the closet. Babies came, kids came, the whole bit. And I really didn't get serious about the banjo until about 4 years ago, 2019, when I decided, okay, if I'm ever going to do anything with the banjo, I better do it now because I don't have that much time. I was well into my 60s when I started. So now I'm comfortable with the banjo. I enjoy making my chords. But the universe is so big. The opportunities are so vast. And I don't have that much time. I don't have 40 years to put into practicing banjo. So what would you suggest as I wrestle with these angels to help me find the best way to spend what time I have left for the maximum enjoyment?
Okay, that's a wonderful question. We have, I've seen you at many occasions, my friend, and I'm just happy to see you again. But that's a very good question, because I think we all ask ourselves that at one point, and I it's a very good question. I really like that question. I think like, I studied music all my life, and I have learned a lot, and I have many books, and I have many things that I've studied and learned. And actually, when I look at it today, my library of books, and knowledge of what I collected, then when I look at all these things today, then I realize it's just a speck of what's out there, and then I really have to ask myself the question: was I happier when I didn't know it, or was I happier when I knew it? And most of the time, I'm happier if I don't know it, and that's, I know, maybe sounds a little, maybe I don't know, but it's really what I believe. I believe that if you play something, for instance, you play, right, you play that, and you can also start it on the 4th string. If you have, or you can start it on the 5th string. If you have these 3 things, right, with the same roll, you just start it, and then you start on the 4th or on the 5th. Always the same. And then if you just play this, so if you're just doing that, and you play it nicely, right, and you give it all you got, then music can't give you more than that. There's not more that music can give you, right? So you can have more, but you don't get more out of it. It's like you learn a few chords and you try to hit the note. It's like you play G here. I could play it like this. You see, try to get into a space where you want to be at, right? So you play. It doesn't need to be like death. It's like it can have vigor, but it has inside movement because you feel something, right? You know what I'm saying? The thing is, you just have to immerse yourself into what you're playing, and it becomes magical. And there's a wonderful saying in music: music only gives you as much as you give to the music.
What you just played right there sounds like typical practice. I get lost in it, my mind goes off, and I walk away from it thinking I haven't been productive, haven't really practiced.
No. All you have to practice, all you have to practice ever to be extremely knowledgeable about music and its emotions is to be where you need to be. You see, it's almost, I know it sounds maybe a little Yoda-esque, but it's true. If you really play with your heart, everything's given to you. You start to develop much faster, and you go into the right direction. I see many people who are actually having the heart and doing it, but they're doubting themselves so much because they're on YouTube and they're watching 1,000 other people play all this crazy stuff, and then they believe that they're not worthy, and then they never go back to that space where they actually were when they wanted to play the banjo. So for me, it was fantastic because, you know, I was isolated when I was a kid. I was the only one that played banjo. So there was nobody there. There was no YouTube. I didn't know what other people were doing. So I was actually living in a beautiful freedom, you know, and just playing my music. And that helped me to develop to what I needed to be doing. And you can do it just the same, you know, just play what you play. It doesn't matter if it's like... And then you sit on your porch, you make yourself a nice cup of coffee, or, you know, and sit by stuff. And that's all you need to be playing. You don't need to go to be that doesn't make you any happier, you know. I mean, if you need that somewhere along the line and you can do it, fine. But you don't need that to actually, and you only develop if you go into that space. Do you understand? Because that's you. And in that space of you is like infinite wisdom. It's infinite knowledge in that space, not in the knowledge outside of yourself, right? So music is in India, music is a form of meditation where you play and you give it all you got. You be in that moment, you play beautiful. And that's when you actually receive all the talent you will ever need. Quickly, you know.
Thank you for permission to be myself. And what I am now, I proudly say I'm the best banjo player on my street.
Exactly.
That's a great attitude to that. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's sometimes you need that clarity, right? So
yeah,
that's awesome.
Thank you.
Joseph, thank you so much for coming in. Go hang backstage with Isabella and Jonathan, and we'll see you in a few. Enjoy a glass or something. It's Christmas. Relax.
All right, Jens, this is great. We're going to do one more question, and then we're going to wrap it up. But
Sure.
This has been really good, really.
Thank you.
Got Bob Hartfield wrote in, what mood or effect are you going for when you move towards or away from the bridge?
Okay, if I need much clarity in tone, I really go close to the bridge, you know. But there's also a nice little trick, you know, when I play behind something. Let's say I want to be quiet, you know, and I want to have that banjo sound, you know, behind something. If I go here, it's a big fat banjo sound, right? But if I'm very close to the bridge, I mean, even back here, so it's almost like a whisper. It's like... It sounds like a turned down banjo in a mix, right? And it's like a railroad, it's like a train. So playing at the bridge, you know, playing close to the bridge doesn't necessarily mean you're playing hard, you know? So you can play pretty hard here and very quiet here. See? It's just different tone qualities. It's not like you're playing over... and then you're playing, you know, that's typically what we expect from the bridge and, you know, the neck position. But I think there's a lot of to be said that pick noises are actually much greater, you know, when you move towards the fingerboard, because you have more string vibrations here, right? It's like you know, the string, and then every time you have to stop it, right? You have movement to stop, so you have to sort of play through the string to really make it sound good. So what I find is that if I'm playing somewhere here in the middle or a little bit here, maybe, a melodic style and single string style seem to melt a little bit better. So See, that works really well together. Back here, this sounds a little harsher, right? So here I can't hear the difference between single string. So if I'm sort of playing a solo where I feel like, oh, I'm going to play some melodic style and some single string, and I want to make that sound more uniform, well, I'm pretty much, moving a little bit more towards the middle of it. But if I then play in a bluegrass situation, I probably will find where I get the best volume, because I can't get that here. You see, I get all kinds of overtones and all kinds of stuff going on. But here and then here. Yeah. So when for hard driving bluegrass, definitely, not here, here, just really, because I just get better note separation. I just get more clarity. But if I want to play something more complex, where I know I'm switching between styles, I probably move somewhere here, right? And then I have a better chance of not the one style sticking out and the other. And maybe that's something you want, but there's always these little passages sometimes that are single string, and then there's little passages that are melodic, and you want to sound them, similar, and that helps when I'm a little bit away from the bridge, So that's pretty much that will be that answer.
That's good, because I don't think of playing by the bridge for quiet. It's
it sounds fantastic. Actually, when Uwe plays a solo sometimes, and and instead of going here, that's a big sound actually. It's a big woo. It's a lot of bass. But if I go like,
right,
there's this banjo whispering,
mm-hmm.
whispering behind the guitar. And that can really sound fantastic, so it doesn't need to be that.
Yeah. Well, this has been great. It's always a great time, when you're on the show. It's always there's always I don't know. It seems to get better each time. Like I just seem to get there's always little pearls of wisdom that I always take away. You, Jamie?
Yeah, always. It's just always, even if it's just a small piece. Like I feel like it was worth doing the show. I think it's always great, and the comments in the chat reflect that. It's just these little gems of wisdom, even if it's not necessarily applicable to what the individual has in mind.
Yeah,
they'll a lot of the time take a different look at what they're doing.
I think I think the most important aspect, and I think that's important for the 100th episode, I think really is that as a human, we have so many things we need to do to stay alive, and we have so many things that we have to live through, and it's not always an easy journey. And I think that music can really help us to connect, because music is I always say that music is a door to the non-physical, right? So when you look at a note, that's a note, and then there's another note, and these are physical. You can measure them. You can, in amplitude, in pitch, and everything. But what's between these two notes, the interval, see, that feels different than this, right? So if you have, you're creating intervals, and the notes are just borders. So you need an instrument that makes a very clean, beautiful border, right? And a banjo can do that. And then that's why, in the end, you cannot, what's between these notes is not a physical entity. You can describe it, but you cannot know how that feels or what you feel. So what we feel in music is non-physical, but with a physical instrument, we can make the unphysical appear. So that's why these are magical tools, right? And I think nobody needs to play a lot of these, intervals in order to say something beautiful. So you can play something very simple and be just as beautiful, or even more beautiful, than, it's like I always say, the fastest speller, who can spell the fastest, doesn't necessarily gets the Pulitzer, right? And it's the simple equations, that change the world. And it's the simple melodies that do a lot more to people, than a lot of times, a lot of things, cluttered things that don't leave you time to imagine. That's too much information. That's just, like an explosion falling down on you. And I think the banjo has this ability to play this relaxed, beautiful music in a simple manner, and you can just find yourself in that space. And I think that's more important than any technique, because the technique will come then. Then will the technique come, not before. Otherwise, you just learn something that you will never be able to use really to your own satisfaction. And you become an infoholic that maybe you never becomes happy with the music, And that, what we want to try to avoid that. We want to try to use the time so we can be happy.
I don't really have anything to top that. That's like
right.
It's just phenomenal insights, like all day long. Jens, thank you so much. We've got some thank yous before we leave. 100 episodes. We started this in COVID, and it wasn't like, I'll say this: the Deering marketing team is 3 people strong, myself included, right? And so we've been pushing this, and we love doing it, and it's 100 episodes strong now. We're very, very proud of it. First of all, thanks to Jens for being here today and giving up so much of your time. Awesome. To Julie for recording the video, to Joseph and Isabella for coming in and asking your questions, to everyone who asked questions today. I'm really, really sorry that we couldn't get to all of them. We would love to. It would be about a 6-7 hour long episode, I think. And maybe we should. Maybe for the
marathon.
200th, we should just do a marathon, 24-hour session. Just coffee all day long. And just thanks to everyone who have always been here, like Dulce and Alan and Joseph and Julie and everyone who kind of shows up every week and says hi and tunes in and gives us feedback, and everyone who's come up to us at IBMA and Melfest and everybody else that we see along the way. It's been really, really fun, and we will certainly be continuing it in the new year. Have some fun with it. David, any closing thoughts?
No, it's been fun doing all these, and it's been, always inspiring having you on the show.
Thanks. I try every week to.
No, you guys are awesome. You're really awesome. I watched everyone.
Yeah. Let's give a quick shout out as well. Just Jonathan Fraser in the background.
Yeah.
Jonathan, if you want to step in real quick and say hi and let the world see you, just very quickly. Hey,
hello, hi.
What's going on?
Wow.
Oh, this and that.
This and that. Thank you for all that you do on the show and getting us organized and making sure we sound as best as we can. All of our guests sound as good as they can, and appreciate that. And
my pleasure. Happy to be here.
Yeah, always awesome. Always awesome. So we'll see if we can ramp this up a bit more in the new year for sure. Couple of requests, Jens, in the chat. Do you know any Christmas tunes? What better way to finish this off? Guys, very, very Merry Christmas and a very Happy New Year. We will see you all in January. If you're watching this, enjoy the holidays, and we'll see you on the other side. Thank you all so much.
Merry Christmas to all of you. You take care.